All right. So, next on the list is okay, the most terrifying depiction of magic in manga. I'm actually like quite a fucking weep, so let's check this out. This will be like quite interesting to see. It's from my boy. I don't know what the fuck did this. Um, it's from Kezutsukami. So let's check this out. Like, let's get back to the fucking weeb world for a second. Like, okay. Uh,
Experience the Have you ever experienced the paradox where you started to doubt the dreams you were chasing? A cruel realization that you almost wish that it just stayed a dream? Well, this manga is kinda like that. Witch Hat Atelier presents this paradox in a very discreet way. I often hear and see people talk about how wholesome and cute this story is, which isn't wrong. It can be very wholesome and cute, but there's an unsettling side to the story that made me start questioning this reality. What started off as me saying, you know, that's low-key fucked up, an average of some numeric value that I don't have per chapter, started to just become, no, this is actually fucked up. So I think the best way to grasp where this paradoxical idea of mine comes from is by first telling you about another story involving a Greek piece of shit who goes by the name of Tantalus.
okay, let's check this story in a second. Just need my poison can.
Tantalus
Tantalus.
was a king among mortals, born from the gods, and because of this, he was welcomed at the table of Olympus to dine with them. He enjoyed listening to them share their divine secrets and knowledge, but eventually, he grew a lust to know more from them. And so, King Tantalus's hubris led him to plan an act of deception by killing his own son and serving him as a meal to the gods in an attempt to test their omniscience. But the gods, they weren't fooled. They quickly became aware of the gruesome act and banished King Tantalus to Tartarus. There he was in perpetual thirst and hunger while being constantly surrounded by water that would recede as he bends down to quench his thirst, and low-hanging fruit on a branch that would pull away when he tried to alleviate his hunger. Tantalus is the reason the word tantalize exists, which means to give someone hope only to disappoint them by not giving what you appeared to offer.
Right, so tantalize mean to give someone hope only to disappoint them by not giving what you appear to offer. Oh, so basically like actually okay, now I understand it. I am tantalized. Like, okay, we'll fuck use the word tantalizing. Probably there's like two people that were like, I know this word, but like, okay, this is a beautiful word. I always kind of like find beauty in like word poetry. So it's pretty.
Which now leads us to the question of, how does this present itself in what I call...
But overall, like, what the interesting myth to test the omniscience of the gods, he served his own son as a meal. What the fuck? This is actually fucked up as a story. Like, and he actually lost, so this is actually cool.
The Witch Hat Atelier paradox. The story follows Coco, an ordinary little girl who absolutely adores magic because of a sketchy witch who sold a supposed wand, a picture book about magic, and a dream to her. A dream to one day become a witch herself. But for her entire life, she was told and even understood that she would never be able to use magic. Because in this world, you can't just become a witch, you have to be born that way. One day, while helping her mother at their shop, Coco meets a witch named Kefri who ends up offering to fix a carriage that broke. But instead of being able to see him work his wonders, Kifri asks Coco to do an important job for him while he fixes the carriage, and it's to make sure that nobody tries to catch a glimpse of him casting the spell. Coco said, "Fuck that, I'm catching a peek," and what she saw wasn't a man casting magic with words, but drawing it. This entirely rewrites the world that Coco thought she understood, and she begins to use the pen from the sketchy witch to draw magic of her own. Eventually, she spammed enough spells to get a basic idea, but wanted to draw them much neater, and so she started to trace the magic in the picture book she got from the sketchy witch. The spell that Coco drew turned her mother to stone and jeopardized her memories being erased by Kifri, as it's the one great rule for witches to hide the fact that anyone can use magic. But as a secret exception to help save her mother, Kifri lets Coco keep her memories so she can study magic and live out her dream of being a witch.
Damn, what the fuck? So she used like one spell from the fucking like book, and it fucking like turns her mother into stone. This is already like quite fucking dark as a story. And then the dude is like out of pity for her, like, but out of sympathy for her as well. Like he's supposed to erase her memory, but he doesn't. And I mean that's a cool story, yeah. But that's dark.
Next to those giant fire-breathing aerial lizards that we call dragons, magic is probably the world's most universally understood fantasy. I mean, in every mythology, folklore, and fantasy-based story, magic exists in some way to aid an individual or community. In Witch Hat Atelier, magic is taught to be a tool that innovates life and creates joy, and unironically, the magic system that Kamome Shirahama creates for the story is probably one of the most innovative concepts that is so well thought out that you, yes you, every single one of you beautiful human beings, excluding Dylan, can literally identify what a magic circle will do based on its 3 building blocks. The middle sign is called a sigil and determines the element of the magic. The arrangement of signs around it determine how the magic will be expelled, and closing the circle that surrounds all of that will activate the magic. But that's just the basics. Let me tell you how deep this shit really goes. With advanced spells, you can use a connecting line between magic circles to link them and change the potency as many times as you want, or completing the circle on a separate object so you can toggle the magic on and off, or creating smaller magic circles within a big one to combine their effects. And to think that this is just the surface of what people were able to identify in the series thus far,
I guess you could make a video game out of it, huh?
Is actual insanity.
Or an anime. If it is this good. An anime.
Holy fucking shit, do not let me draw ever again. This magic system is very different from others. I mean, you quite literally have the ability to understand what it must feel like to craft your own magic. Obviously, you're just going to get a piece of paper with some fucking doodles on them if you try to, but that doesn't stop you from having an idea of what.
Yeah, this is actually cool because like you can actually like try out. It's not like let's say Yu-Gi-Oh, where like you play your duel, but like there's no like magical dragon. Like I guess it's like the setting that it's into. Like but it's interesting.
What the magic circle you drew might do. You're straight up handed the ability to grab.
Like you don't like there isn't like a lot of animes, let's say like Bleach, that has like incantations, or like My Hero Academia, where like you just watch it and you can kind of like have an exercise to kind of like just feel like the character in it.
Grasp its endless possibilities and understand what this story means when they say that magic exists to innovate life and spread kindness. Except endless possibilities also mean the opposition of what we're told exists, and out of everybody, Coco is one of the few people who understands that most. Forbidden magic are spells that exist for the intent of harm or personal gain. Teleportation spells without a vehicle or door, spells that are explicitly used as a weapon, and any spells used directly on the body or even written onto the body, including those that heal, are considered forbidden and are taboo in the world of witches, with the only exception being the spell to make people forget. Magic is a tool of manipulation, as much as it's preached to be used as a tool for good by those who want to protect the stability of the world, that inherently comes with deceiving people. In fact, there's plenty of unfortunate examples of this in the real world. They don't call them magic tricks for the fuck of it. They call it that because deception is the foundation of magic.
How did you do that?
Very well, I thought. It's sleight of hand. To explain the tricks to you would give you one solution, but it wouldn't give you all of the solutions.
In this story, when magic is used with seemingly good intent, it's usually mixed with some ulterior motive and by people you would least expect or even forget about because of how much optimism they shine on the story. There's an incredibly impactful moment where Coco feels like she's out of options and starts to make her way to the Tower of Tomes, a place that Kiefer mentioned to keep logs on every piece of knowledge that exists. And that's where Coco hopes to find a way to save her mother. Eventually, Kiefer finds her, tells her everything is going to be alright, and tries bringing her back. But that's when we learn about how conflicted Coco's become with her entire journey of magic so far.
The more I learn about magic, the more uneasy it makes me. The more I study, the more things I'm told I mustn't do. What if no matter how hard I try, my work never pays off? I worry that when my hands fail to find hope, when they end up grasping at thin air, that I just might begin reaching for things I shouldn't.
What follows this is Kiefer explaining how although magic is something that manifests hope, it itself is not the answer to every solution. The avenues for hope exist in the mind of a witch. Magic only thrives when a witch is able to put pen to paper in imaginative ways, and that's what makes magic magic.
And that's what must be like within the story, like also like difficult to watch, because like a lot of like superhero, like fantastic type of stories, they recount the fact that like the person who actually gets it use it to actually make the world a better place, make the world better, help his friends. And here it's like it's taboo. So basically you get to become a witch, but you don't get to fucking change the world or anything. You just get to fucking like have a power that is restricted, and must be interesting, must be fascinating.
You see, I loved everything about this moment. It was wholesome, inspirational, served as a real tipping point in Coco's character, while also making me realize how
I gotta say also, like the art of the manga is actually really fucking beautiful. Like you can see that there's a lot of care to this song.
almost every single thing that's said in this manga makes you really start to think, who's lying? Kiefer is an incredibly complicated fellow. He's got drip, is chill as fuck, can be badass as fuck, and more times than not, he is the ideal mentor. But because of that, I also think he is the most unpredictably deceptive character in the series by far. From the very moment Kiefer was introduced and so forth, he was shown to have a side to his character that acted independently from everyone, a side controlled by radical emotions so strong that he even distrusts his best friend. Despite this, he actively is showcased as an incredibly good-willed person, with how he carries himself, the way he mentors his apprentices, and even his judgment on morally gray situations. It's really hard to not think that he's just a good guy, except when you pair that with his suspicious mischief behind the scenes and monologues of inner doubt, it just creates this constant unease. Like, is he genuine? Is he selfish? Does he care? Does he not care? Like, what's this guy's deal sometimes? One moment he's the coolest motherfucker ever, and then the next he looks like he's willing to sacrifice an entire litter of soft kittens for a half-eaten cheeseburger. But Kiefer isn't the only person in this manga that makes me feel
Wow, this is like, so if you're not into manga, I'm not into manga, but like I'm into art. Like watch this fucking like page. This is actually like this is maybe actually I'll check it out if it's not as fucked up as it is. Maybe I'll actually check it out, because like the art of this manga is actually really fucking beautiful. Like check this out, like just wow.
feel severely conflicted. As the story further progresses, this duality in characters either develops in others or begins to present itself more blatantly. Every single character is as volatile as the magic that exists. This story that was once filled with vibrantly magical moments that words couldn't even begin to describe are now just periodically euphoric moments that are or bound to be shackled in sorrow. It constantly keeps me on edge, and I'm always caught thinking about how these characters are unaware of what's below each other's mask. But as this thought came to mind, I started thinking about this girl at work. this plumpy, short, middle-aged white lady that I'd see here and there as I day in and day out do the bare minimum of labor while my sanity is begging for my shift to be over with already. And this lady is very jolly. Like, I swear that to every single person in the facility, she will give the same gleeful good morning with a slight chuckle after every sentence in response. This, of course, made me start concocting a ridiculous hypothesis on if this lady has some sort of underlying hatred against the world that she wants to hide from people. Why do I think like that? What the fuck? But maybe she's genuinely just a happy person and I'm a piece of shit for assuming that, which is probably more accurate, to be honest. Just like how this guy can be seen as a piece of shit for assuming that this guy is associated with some objectively bad witches because of the magic circle tattooed on his chest. However, we actually know that he's a regular person who travels as a bard to make people smile. So this magic circle on his chest, he's clueless of its origins or properties. But with context that felt entirely random before the fact, you know that it's a regularly used spell repurposed for something unknowingly sinister. Because of this tattoo, Dogdon is in a perpetual state of refreshing the moment he dies. Over and over again, he makes new memories only for them to cease to exist. Again and again, he's brought to good health, eventually succumbing to the same brutal wounds. And death after death, he searches for Kustis just to see him cry over his dying body once more. It's really fucked up. Not his fault, and was only casted on him because Kustis wanted to save his life. But because he violated the witch's law, he's not questioned, he's just treated as a dangerous criminal. I mean, this guy is not harming anybody. Not anyone innocent, at least. I mean, this knight heard some music while off duty, locked the fuck in, found the source of the song, and was like, "You fiend! Step away from the children and put that lucrative weapon down! It's a fucking loot, buddy." And that's not even the worst part about this whole thing. It's the fact that this guy is gay. No, being gay is not the worst part. Gay people are cool. That's why it's the worst part. He's actually a really good guy, but we only figure that out after he gets the short end of the stick. Every single time I chose to turn to the next chapter, to the next page even, I became more and more conflicted with just the smallest of side plots. And eventually I realized that for me, this manga didn't only manipulate its characters, it also manipulated me. It toyed with my emotions by what I can only describe as a triple pump fake that gets fallen for every time.
I think that like it has like a realistic side to it. What it tries to describe is something realistic because like it talks about real life, like and this is the problem that I have like many fantasy novels, like and many the animes and stuff. It's just that like, well, this kind of like really harsh side is not like described as much as it should be, and usually it feels realistic because real life is harsh. And some of the things that like you talked about, like the fact that like, yeah, like some dude gets treated as a criminal because of a mark, and that's how it is. That's real life. Some people get fucking like attacked or like basically wrongly accused of a crime, and then they're treated as criminals in real life, and we are like in a fucking like modern era and all this stuff. So imagine in a fucking like fantastic like medieval era where this happens, it used to be even worse, right? But I think that like what it describes is not that like it toys with its emotions, it's just that like it's written like realistically. at least. But I don't want to argue too much about that because I haven't read the manga, obviously.
How is a manga able to do that? Anyways, I think the main source of every conflict in this story, both figuratively and internally, is created because of the great law among witches. This grandiose law is meant to be the solution to an age of hurt caused by magic, when all it's really done is flare up more problems and be used as an excuse to not save people. Objectively, the restrictions that exist because of this law is dumb as fuck. It's basically like cleaning the floor by sweeping all the soot and dust underneath the couch, except it's been done throughout multiple generations under that same couch. In Witch Hat,
Yeah, but like it is similar. It is like something that like is happening for a lot of like industries and a lot of like it happens for in a lot of like thematics. I'll only found this word in real life, so it makes sense, you know. It makes sense. It's not this fucking like magical like everything is taken care of like that that I usually see that actually like make me fucking stop watching or stop like being invested in the story because it's not realistic. Because it doesn't connect. There's like something called like the when something becomes like too unbelievable, basically it disconnects you, like psychologically it disconnects you from the work of arts, or it just becomes like too fucking unbelievable. Basically, like I'm pretty sure that like this is actually like not deceiving, but like it's just really realistic and believable.
Erasing the memories of people at every minor inconvenience in order to keep the slate of people who know about magic clean. And after generations of neglect, it's become the reason why Coco's ideation of magic is not what she believed it to be. The law meant to protect people robbed her of her childhood and her mother. You see, magic is the temptation that Tantalus seeked from the gods, but the result of this curiosity was low-hanging fruit and water before his feet that would recede as he'd reach for them. And for
could have like found any like many other ways to fucking get magic from the gods, like for Tantalus. Like could have like there are like many ways before like fucking killing your son and giving it as a meal to the gods. Pretty sure that like there is like at least 2 other ways that it could have thought out. But who am I to fucking like judge?
Coco, the fruit and water that's all around her is magic that can save her mother, but any attempt to reach for such magic is impossible. In the manga, Coco is still about 12 years old and is forced to be more than just a 12-year-old against some of the wisest witches. Just like how magic fuels manipulation, that wholesome outline blinds the fact that this story is really about how a kid is forced to grow up, how magic is like a wildfire, how hope feels like nothing but a means to an end, and how fate isn't defined by what life you were born into. Rather, it's defined by how you choose to embrace the circumstances and live out that very breath. This, I think, is the true message that this manga tries to convey, which
yeah, but also like so that like what you're born as, it does not like mean does not mean what you can become, right? But it seems that like it's not the fucking like happy ride that like, yeah, you can become anything you want. Yeah, no, you can, but like it has a price. I think that like it's interesting just because it has a dark side that is not like just this fucking like sugar-coated fucking like nonsense that I usually see that I really dislike, that really makes me like hate on some animes.
Chat seems far from being something that'll have a conclusion anytime soon, and as a result, everything that's happened so far has felt bittersweet. But regardless of the awful circumstances, they still somehow end up finding peace in that, a peace completely separate and alien from the tantalizing existence of magic. Sometimes we look at things with this sparkle in our eyes, eager to one day grasp it for ourselves. Money, fame, achievements, whatever the fuck. But what I think this manga tries to say, and will continue to say as long as its story highlights that awe, is something along the lines of, hey, just make sure you don't get lost on the way. It can get rough. So sometimes it's good to acknowledge that the best things are already in front of you. And I think that's what led me to calling this strange conclusion of mine the Witch Hat Atelier paradox. somehow you made it to the end of this video, and I
Okay, so the anime name is the Witch Hat Atelier. The Witch Hat. What's the name? Where's the fucking name? Yeah, here you go. Can you? Oh, fuck. I'll check it out. Fuck. Um, yeah. So Witch Hat Atelier. Okay. So this is actually like quite interesting. Like I think that like this, if I get the time, this is like the type of anime that I would love to actually like see. Not I will actually like to see like if I get the time. The only problem is that like there is like so many good animes and video games these days that are like that makes it like really difficult to fucking like get into like manga. So yeah. So yeah, thank you Kazutsukami for like this presentation, and actually like maybe something really like cool. Maybe an anime. Can you make an anime? And I've seen a lot of chapters, so maybe an anime. Let's hope for an anime of the Witch Hat Atelier. That will be cool. That will be cool. Anyway, let's keep on going.